Terrifier 2, the little movie that could. It came out, shocked the world, and made Art the Clown a household name in the horror genre. And now that we're a few years removed from the movie, I went back and I rewatched it because I realized I don't have a review for it for the channel. So I'm gonna tell you what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and everything in between. And if you liked the video, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps the channel out, and consider subscribing to the channel as well. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing I have to give a shout out to is the 80s aesthetic. Now, it's not a straight up, set in the 80s or everyone's dressed in the 80s or anything like that, but it has this gritty, raw feel to it as if it was filmed in the 80s, plus the theme, the score, all of that stuff. The score is fantastic. It really makes you feel kind of like when you watch Stranger Things. That type of music and those chimes and just the sounds, all that stuff is very 80s themed, and I loved every second of it. And another thing that I really loved about this movie, and you're gonna roll your eyes when I say this, is the story. I thought the story was fantastic with the good versus evil dynamic and really giving us more questions than it's giving us answers to, but it does it in a way where you are invested. You want to know these answers and you're along for the ride until those questions are answered. So if you don't know what the story is, it's about Art the Clown coming back to life from what happens to him at the end of Terrifier 1. And really, he has this demon girl following him, and they're just on a rampage through this town on Halloween. Now, it also follows a girl named Sienna who has ties to Art the Clown, but you don't really know how. It has something to do with her father who passed away, but you're not quite sure. And as the movie goes on, Art and Sienna get closer and closer to a final showdown. And I know how it sounds. It does not sound revolutionary. It doesn't sound like anything new in the slasher genre. It doesn't do anything new. But there's just these special things that this movie does, and how we get from A to B, and what these characters become, and what this world is, that just really works for the story. The story has flaws. We'll get to that later. But overall, the story really worked for me. And kind of going back to the good versus evil type thing, Art the Clown is the embodiment of evil. And I really like that. You go to these slasher movies and these characters are just evil for the sake of being evil, and you don't really think twice of it, but the dynamic that you start to see him form with him being resurrected, with him, going after Sienna, who's wearing a literal angel warrior outfit, and you start to see the dynamics of, oh, this guy is literally pure evil. He does stuff throughout the movie, you're like, that's pretty evil, but you start to learn that this guy might be like a literal demon or the devil or whatever you want to label him as. That really starts to become apparent as the movie goes on. I think that's so cool. Where you watch, say Freddy Krueger or Jason or whoever it is, they're evil, and that's kind of where it stays. With Art the Clown, they do enough here to really start to build like, oh, this guy is like literally evil. Like I've been saying this whole video, pure evil, and it really works for that character in a slasher movie. And then going the other way, you have to look at Sienna, who's this character who is not this trained person to go up against Art the Clown, who is just taking people out left and right. She's just a normal girl who's going to a Halloween party. And that's it. Where she has to learn how to fight him, and she does it in a great way. Honestly, Sienna, for going from what she was at the beginning of the movie to what she becomes at the end of the movie, and all of the, I guess, supernatural stuff, if you want to say, and just what her character kind of becomes opposite of Art the Clown, she's become one of my favorite final girls in modern horror. I love what she turned into in this movie specifically, and I'm not even talking about Terrifier 3 yet. Terrifier 2 Sienna is awesome, and I just love that she is the angel warrior. She's in the outfit, and it really just adds so much to what's going on, and you really start to believe what she's selling. And probably the thing that people are going to be talking about the most in Terrifier 2 is the practical effects. Huge shout out to Damien Leone, the director. He has a huge background in practical effects, but now he's behind the camera doing the directing. He actually did a lot of these practical effects himself as well because of the budget. But these practical effects, they are cheesy at times. Of course they are. But man, you feel it. You feel everything. You feel the blood. You feel everything that's getting ripped apart. You feel every single thing that Art the Clown does in this movie. And once again, at times, some of it is cheesy. But also, you have to remember that Art the Clown is a cheesy character where he's doing these awful, gross, gory, insane things. But when he's doing it, he has this look on his face and he's miming and he's doing all these things that make it kind of funny. So at times, his character is doing his thing, and the practical effects kind of lean into that. I don't know if it's intentional, but that's how it feels sometimes. And other times, I'm just sitting there and I don't even know what to think. There's the infamous bedroom scene. This is my second time watching this movie. The first time watching this movie, I had no idea what I was walking into with that scene. I walked in and he started doing his thing. I'm not gonna say anything because if you haven't seen the movie, I need you to go watch it first. But I had to look away. About halfway through, I was like, oh, cool. Oh. Hey, you got her. She's done. You got her. You got her, Art. But this time when I'm watching it, I was able to kind of really look into it and, you know, really focus on the practical effects and what was going on. And it's just brutal. And you do feel it in everything that he's doing. But then you start to see, you know, the rubber appendages, we'll just say, that's being displayed there and being ripped apart, and it's pretty good. So shout out to the practical effects. I think that's something that's really not seen in horror. I mean, even down to the makeup and the gore and just everything like that. I watched The Conjuring Last Rites recently, right? That came out about a month ago, whatever it was, a few weeks ago. And there's that scene. There's like a ghost behind something. I think that's the doll that's lifting up and there's a ghost behind it. And I'm sitting there and it's weird looking, right? But you get a good look at it. Why is the face CGI? It looks awful. Why is that a thing? Why was that decision made, right? And it's just little things like that you see in big budget horror movies that could have easily been done with makeup or prosthetics or something like that. But then you go and you watch a movie like this and you're like, how come this movie was able to pull that off, but a movie like that couldn't? It's just wild. So huge shout out to the practical effects. I know I'm going on a little rant on that, but it's something that's really important to me and I think a lot of people do appreciate in movies like this. The more practical, the better. Now for all the things that I really do love about this movie, with Art the Clown being so expressive when he's doing the most insane, inhumane things, you really learn to like the guy. And then you have Sienna, who's just this badass final girl who's my favorite in modern horror, maybe of all time. I'll have to, really think about that. And then you have this really enticing story who's adding more questions than answers, and it really makes you want to know more. So if they make more of these, which they are, you will be along for the ride. Really loved all those aspects of Terrifier 2. But even having said that, there are some things that I didn't like about it, and it does go back to that story of the pacing, of how this movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes. And on the first time I watched it, it didn't feel like it. It felt like it was a pretty brisk for the most part. On my second rewatch now, I felt it. I really did, and it was more so in the back half of the movie where things start to unravel, and it just felt more chaotic, more so than, a fine thread of a story, which it's a slasher. I get it. But still, you saw how great the setup was in the first half. You wish that the second half had more of a structure to it. And once again, it was a little bit long. So I think if they just tightened that up just a little bit more, I think it would have made a better overall story. So having said all that, I do recognize this movie has flaws. This isn't a movie that I'm gonna go and show my wife, who isn't that into horror movies, especially the gory ones. This is not a movie for her. This is not a movie for people that are just kind of tiptoeing into horror. This is a movie for people that have seen horror movies before, they're okay with the gore, and they want a new horror icon to really, follow as the movies go on. Terrifier 2 is a very well-made movie. You have to remember though that this movie was made for $500,000. Pennies compared to these other big budget movies that are put into theaters. So what they put out here was a very cohesive, well-made, very well executed movie that could have been a mess. It could have been awful. And if you've ever seen Terrifier 1 and you go watch this one, it's a massive jump in quality. And I'm not talking about just the budget. It's just a massive jump in quality of focus, of the acting, of all of these things, of the story. Everything just works so much better from going from Terrifier 1 to Terrifier 2. And even if you just look at Terrifier 2 under a microscope, it's a really fun time. It's a really well-made movie. I love this movie. But what do you all think? Is Terrifier 2 an awesome movie that you love to watch every year? Is Art the Clown the next horror icon? Or is this a movie or a franchise that you just cannot get behind? You don't see the appeal, you find it kind of weird? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.